The phrase, "you can like whatever you wish to like," is utterly illogical. Think of how people will say that you can enjoy a bad movie as much as you want, but that doesn't make it good. That's true, but being capable of liking bad things doesn't even excuse the act of liking the bad thing. There are plenty of things that people objectively shouldn't be enjoying or interacting with due to the negative effects they have on their minds and bodies. But if the argument often used in art critique was applied to the rest of the world, then we'd still be living in a horribly hedonistic and anarchic society. Typically the phrase, "you can like whatever you want," is in reference to how people have free will, and that they are capable of liking bad things if they so desire. Considering that it is a fundamental requirement of humanity to be capable of navigating the world without their hands being held all the time, it is important that people are permitted the capacity to find whatever they find pleasant. But what a lot of people tend to misunderstand is that just because you are capable of enjoying something doesn't automatically mean it is worth enjoying. You can enjoy the use of drugs because of how it makes you feel, but drugs aren't good for the human mind and body. They are actually quite damaging to the human body on practically every circumstance. On this same token, it is a point of truth that intentionally consuming bad art and enjoying it for the sake of enjoying it is actually a bad thing. In the same way that Socrates believed that a man is slave to his passions if he indulges in them under the guise of freedom, thus not making him truly free, I believe that people aren't justified in liking whatever they want just because they can like it. It's faulty reasoning, really. Free will isn't this thing we as people have been designed to run to the hills with just because we possess it. We're designed to learn how to control it and temper it. Free will is essentially the capacity to choose whatever you want for yourself. It only exists within us humans because we're the only creatures with what's often referred to in philosophy as a rational soul. We're the only creatures that can rationalize what we experience and make the best of difficult decisions. We don't run purely on instinct like the vast majority of other animals. We are capable of controlling our desires or indulging in them too greatly if we choose. There are many times when people should take a step back and really consider whether or not their feelings actually possess merit or value on an objective level. For example, almost everyone can think of a moment in time when they've wanted someone dead. For whatever reason, whoever it was, someone wanted somebody else dead. It is incumbent upon us as rational people to step back and consider whether or not that such a feeling is worth entertaining. From a moral standpoint, wanting someone dead is a statement with much gravitas. You essentially want the life of another rational person to stop where it currently stands. But what would benefit the world more? That such a person dies? Or that such a person may live so as to learn how to behave better? Of course, there are times and cases where people will put themselves in positions to never learn from their mistakes. This happens quite frequently from the smallest scales to the largest, from family matters to political motives that affect entire nations. And is such a stubbornness an unimpeachable right of the individual? Is a person entitled to feel however they want about a situation? Do they get to think whatever they think just because they can? No. It is irrational to assert that the thoughts of a person should be unchallenged on the basis of presupposed entitlement. What I've seen a lot of in this day and age is that people have taken the truth that they are capable of thinking whatever they want and twisted it into now stating that they can think whatever they want, therefore whatever they think is right or true because they have the capacity to believe it. This is where the lie of personal truths comes into play. A person can argue that an incoherent or illogical assessment of a particular experience is true to them just because they thought it, and therefore they've formed a belief system off of an emotional response to something without any prior thought as to why the emotional response happened, why it may or may not have been a good response to have, and what it actually means to base a belief upon the shaky ground of emotions. This phenomenon is also known as the entitlement to one's own opinion, whereby people dismiss criticism of their beliefs or statements and cop out of a rational conversation by simply claiming that it's just their opinion, or just their perspective, and that it shouldn't be taken away from them. So what now happens is that many people think that because their opinions are challenged for their validity, logic, and sometimes even morality, this suddenly means that they should cling onto those faulty ways of thinking because they have the right to think whatever they want. But this too misses the point. The point isn't that the rational mind wants to obliterate the rational thought, but rather rectify it. For example, say that two men watch a bad movie. One may find great enjoyment in the movie for the spectacles it provided, while the other understands that the quality of the movie is poor, thus tarnishing the real weight the spectacle would otherwise naturally possess. In conversation, the second man may bring this up to the first, citing that the movie is overall bad because of inconsistencies within its plot and development of characters. The first man might try to defend the movie, but because his enjoyment of it is purely based on his emotional response to the spectacle of what occurred, rather than understanding the reasons for why things happened, or lack thereof, his arguments will always fall flat when faced with objective scrutiny. The first man may then say that the second man is trying to take away his enjoyment of the film by trying to convince him that the movie has objective flaws. But it is not that the second man is trying to take away the personal satisfaction that the first man has with the film. The second man is articulating that because of the flaws within the movie itself is not worth enjoying on a matter of higher principle. The first man can truly feel however he wants, insofar as he is capable of feeling the emotions he feels, and can choose to apply them however he desires. But the point of the second man is that those positive feelings towards the bad film are misplaced. It is not that the feelings are flawed in and of themselves, but that they are inappropriate to apply to a film of such poor quality that has done nothing to merit such feelings of awe and joy. The second man is stating to the first that he should consider where those emotions are being placed, and if they are worth being placed into something that has done nothing to merit such praise. The second man's point is that the experience is not worth engaging in because of its quality. The second man, thus, understands that our minds as humans should be directed towards what is good for us to consume rather than what is poor. Perhaps indeed there are biases people have towards things that are bad for them. It is our responsibility as people, however, to acknowledge that those things are bad, and perhaps even detach from them altogether if it happens to be that they affect us more directly. It's one thing to enjoy a temporary poor experience like a bad movie or a bad video game. Perhaps the game holds sentimental weight because you used to play it as a child with your father. Perhaps the movie reminds you of your mother laughing at particular jokes in it. Those moments are good for us as people to have, but it would be ridiculous to suggest that because some people have those moments with those experiences, suddenly those experiences are good, or even good for them, because they remind them of good times. Good times can be cherished if they truly are good, but that does not speak to the quality of the experience itself. That being said, temporary experiences such as movies are far less important than tampering with substances that the body can grow an addiction or a dependency towards, because that could result in the end of one's life. Those experiences are not worth having in any regard, and any reasonable person would agree. My point at the end of it all is this: just because you have the capacity to feel a certain way does not justify your feelings towards the thing. That is why, in objective discussions about the quality of media, for example, emotions mean quite little. They can support a particular position insofar as being added as a footnote to an objective point. It is stupendously irresponsible, however, to assert that feeling however you want about a thing is justified because it was felt and somehow shouldn't be invalidated. It is not that the emotion is strictly invalid on its own. It is that the emotion is attached towards something that does not merit it, and as a result, the emotion's validity never existed in the first place. It is not appropriate to say that a man is excited to try a new drug, and that such excitement is valid because it was his excitement, and that shouldn't be taken away from him. Excitement on its own is not something to take away. It is impossible to take away, but that's also not the point. The point is that the excitement is directed towards something that will damage him further, and thus should not be attributed to the thing. It is therefore invalid to attach excitement to the access of a new drug. And yes, he should not be feeling excitement towards the drug. He should be seeking out some kind of help so as to improve his physical and mental state. He needs someone to lead him out of that situation in life, and he needs to come to the realization that he is destroying himself by chasing bigger and bigger highs for the sake of it. Such irresponsibility in life will get him killed, and that most certainly won't benefit him or anyone who knows him, especially those that care about him, and maybe even love him in spite of all that he's done to damage himself to such a degree. So when you engage in a piece of media, art, or some outside experience like playing a sport or getting on a roller coaster, remember that while feelings are good to have, they do not determine the quality of the thing. A thing can be attractive for us to engage in, but that does not automatically make it worth engaging in. Use critical thought and ask yourself whether or not this experience is worth engaging in. Sometimes the answer can be as simple as not having a reason to not engage with the experience. For example, if the roller coaster isn't going to harm you, why not give it a shot? If it's your first time with a coaster of that speed, you can challenge yourself to a new level or maintain the level you're at. That's a low consequence decision that doesn't require too much thought. If you're playing a sport, understand why you feel the way you do about it on a deeper level. If you enjoy it, ask yourself about the depth of its mechanics and the skill it requires to play. Ask yourself why the game is worth playing, and you may indeed come to realize that it is a challenge worth facing due to its benefits physically, through increasing your body strength, and mentally, through your ability to make decisions quickly and in a calculated manner. If you're playing a video game, ask yourself why you enjoy it so much, and you may come to understand that it helps you solve problems better. If you enjoy a movie, ask yourself why you like that one scene so much, and you may come to understand through reflection and research that it's because of how pivotal the moment is for the rest of the plot due to the decisions the characters are forced to make. It may even inspire you to emulate such behaviors when properly directed. But it can also work in the opposite way. If you ask yourself why you feel a certain way about a movie, it's entirely possible that your negative feelings are misplaced, and that you may be accidentally applying incorrect feelings to the scene where it does not merit the negativity. Or, on the other hand, you could ask why you feel positively about a scene that makes no sense to be there, and through understanding what the scene means to the story and how it may damage it, you can reassess how you think and feel about the scene and movie as a whole on a deeper level. With video games, you can ask yourself why you enjoy or hate a particular mechanic, and whether or not that mechanic works in the game, understanding the dynamics and principles of it all, and how to navigate challenges that you just haven't found a workaround for yet. If it happens to be that the mechanic does not detract from the dynamics of the game, and instead increases them appropriately, perhaps your negative feelings were misplaced, and caused you to make an inappropriate judgment on the game from what you thought was an objective lens. And on a conclusive note, I am not saying that people should throw away their feelings altogether. The capacity for humans to emote is by design, and displaying emotion towards the experiences we have is not a bad thing to do. What I am asking for, from all and any who are watching this video, is responsibility. I want people to be responsible in the way they consume art. I want people to be responsible in the hobbies they have and how they utilize their free time. I want people to be responsible in how they behave. I want people to be responsible in how they think. Because if one can truly be responsible in the way they approach all that they do, then they are pursuing truth adequately and will lead better lives as a result of their well-informed and appropriately made decisions. I don't want people to become callous, cold, and apathetic. I want people to care more, even if it's by the smallest of margins, about what they do and how they can do those things better.